Hello everyone, it's Geesje. Welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to show you how I make this altered pen. I saw someone do it with real beads, but my beads don't have the openings that go over the ink part of the pen. And when you're going to do this, you need a pen where the tip is like this. It has a stopper. Unlike this one, it doesn't have one, so it doesn't really work. And because I don't have beads that will fit over it, I made my own beads from paper. And I'm going to show you how I do that. First, a bit about different papers. I rolled all the beads from paper from this magazine. The papers from this magazine are thinner than the papers from this magazine. So for instance, this bead was rolled with 1 layer, this with 2, this one I think with 3, these 2, and I think this one with 5. Depending on the thickness of your paper, you want to roll 1, 2, 3 or more layers together to get the thickness you want. I know that papers from this magazine are thicker and I would not necessarily need 5 layers. I think 2 or 3 would be fine. So the other thing I want to mention is, I'm going to make the beads from this paper, and it was one paper with a C-seam. Now, as you can see, it's light over here and dark over here. If you cut your strip where the thinnest part is lighter, your bead will look like this. Now if you cut it the opposite, where your thin part is darker, your bead will look like this. And the light will be on the outside, versus here, where the dark is on the outside. So you will get 2 different beads. In the end they will match because they are from the same paper, but just to keep that in mind when you choose your papers. I have some examples here from the National Geographic. So this would be an interesting bead because you get all different color ranges in your bead. But then again, it's dark over here and somewhat dark over here. I think this part would be really nice. I personally would cut the light part off, then I would use the rest of the papers. This would also work really nice to make your beads out of because of the different textures you will have. And here you will get some blue in your beads. These all work really nice, and you have the advantage that you can use the whole page top to bottom. I'm using a bead roller to roll my beads. I've bought these quite a few years ago and I've made a lot of use out of them. So if you're planning on making a lot of beads, this is highly recommended. I got these out of Etsy. So I found out that the number 4 millimeters works for this type of shaft so that the beads fit nicely and it will fit over here, which is important. Get your glue out first before you start rolling, because once you're rolling and you have to fiddle with opening the bottle, you might lose hold of your paper and you got to start over again. It doesn't really matter which way you roll, towards yourself or away from yourself. I try to keep in the middle, and when I'm at the end I will just add a little bit of glue. This is Alleen Stake glue. I use that a lot. I just have to hold it a little bit before it really takes. And to take them off the roller, I'll hook my nails around the bead and pull. So now I want to make a longer bead, so you cut it wider, and I want it thicker, so I have 3 strips here. So it'll taper off slightly. Then this I cut about here, and then this width I estimate. I don't measure. So this one will match up hereabouts. So I could glue them on. Might be easier. About here. Just overlap. Then the same here. Well, we're going to wait for this to dry a little bit, but we're not going to wait too long. And I can roll this all the way up. Now as you can see, my bead is a bit wonky because I did not measure one long strip from wide to skinny, and that's okay. I don't mind that. Also, I now want to kind of measure from here till the tip. Make the beads so that they all fit on here until the tip. One thing to think about when you are making the beads, all different thicknesses and lengths, I choose one bead like this at the front so that when you hold the pen, you can still write with it. So I would not place a big bowl right here or even a skinny tiny one over there. This way you have a good grip and you can still use the pen. The other thing you might have noticed that my tip is green. My pens all are dark blue, and because my beads are somewhat grayish, I have a paint marker here, and I will use the big dot side to paint the tip of my pen. And I will do a few coats. Okay, I will let this dry. Another thing to note is that this is where my pen ends. Before the last bead, this bead sits on top of the pen with a toothpick, and we'll get to that later. So we need to make one extra bead, which is this one. This will go at the back of my pen. So I added another coat, and this time I used regular acrylic paint with a paintbrush. And as you can see, that works good also. Once the paint has dried, we're going to add our beads to the pen, and you can use any glue you prefer. I have regular gel matte would work, E6000 would work, Gem High Tech would work, and this is a PVA medium, not to be confused with just regular PVA glue. This is a medium and it's a stronger bond than a PVA glue. I'm going to use this today. I will add a little bit of glue on my pen. It was quite a bit. And I'm carefully going to manipulate the bead onto the pen. I'm holding on to this part. If you push the bead with your fingers onto the thicker part, you might have the chance that the bead will be pushed out of shape because it is still all loose here. So that's why we're going to be very careful when we add this to the tip of our pen, because that's the thickest part, so that is the hardest part. Before I add more beads to the pen, I'm going to apply 2 coats of finish to this part here, because if you fill the pen up with all the beads, you don't have a hold on to the pen when you apply your finish. For the first 2 coats, I am going to use a gloss medium and varnish by Liquitex, and I pour it in a container so that I can easily paint it on. And this is my holder to hold my pen while it is drying. So, and you want to not add a thick coat because then it will drip down the pen and you will have a drip on the bottom of your bead. And I'm going to add a light coat to the tip of the pen. And then I will let it sit here to dry, and I will do that 2 times. Now I'm going to add some more beads, and it's just a matter of sliding them on. I have them here in order of how I would like to have them on my pen. And I'm going to stop here, and now I'm going to add varnish to this part. And I'm using this varnish, but you can use other varnishes too. So you can use this also. If you don't want to spray, you can spray some in the cup here and then with a brush add it to your beads. It doesn't really matter what kind of finishing you add to it. When I've coated the whole pen with 2 layers of this kind of varnish, I'm going to coat the whole pen, except for the very tip, with this finish. And it makes it really shiny. And I think it also makes it harder so that the beads won't distort if you press on it. I will now let this dry and then do another coat. And then I will add the last 2 beads that will fit on here. And then I'll come back and I'll show you how we attach the last beads on top of our pen. All the beads are on and are coated twice. Now I'm working on the last bead, but I made a mistake. I made the hole just as big as the other ones, but it only has to go around a toothpick, and then it doesn't have to be as thick. So I will wrap a little bit around my toothpick, but first I have to decide how high my toothpick is. So I will insert it in the back of the pen, push it a bit in. So this is how far it goes in. And with a marker, I will make a mark where my bead ends. Carefully pull it back out. So here is my mark. So I cut this 1/2 inch, like the same width as my bead is. And I'm going to glue this to my toothpick. And I will cut the rest off. And when my paper is secured, I will start rolling until I've reached the desired thickness so that my bead still fits on top of here, but is a little snugger. I don't like it that it is too loose on there. So periodically I will have a test and see how far I need to go. And I will cut this off, dab glue, hold this in place. I don't really like how the end looks like, so I'm going to fill it with glue. I don't know if that works, but I'm going to add some glue to the end. Hopefully it will go in. Okay, it looks much better. We'll see how this looks when it's dried. In the meantime, I'm going to add some glue to the point and to the underside. And push it in. I have a piece of styrofoam. I will put this in to dry and I will look at it some more, and then we're going to finish it with the last layer of varnish. Now, I did not like how the top looked with the glue on it, so I painted the glue gray with the gray paint that I have here. Now I'm going to add the last layer, and I'm using a clear gloss finish, and this will really help make it really shiny and everything will stay together. And I'll be very careful on adding it only to the tip and not on the pen. This might take a bit to dry, and you have to clean up the brush with paint thinner. I'm looking for drips, don't want drips. Now I'm going to wait for this to dry. And this is how it looks, very nice and shiny. Well, that was it for today. I hope you liked the video and maybe you give this a try. Or if you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments below. And I hope to see you in the next video. Bye!